some people discard the importance of written goals or a map or a plan or a blueprint, because how can something so simple make such a significant difference? I will tell you that over 1,000 businesses in 20 years, having a written map, blueprint, is significantly different. But I'll share with you some of the stats as well, if you're not sure of that. But just to show of hands, let's be honest here, we're in a safe space, who's got a clear, written business plan that if I asked you to send me, you could evidence, and it's there now with exacting goals for a year or 3 years? Thanks so much for your honesty. I mean, it's such a small number, but that's not unusual. Because mostly it says plans in my head. And what I say is, yeah, but what if you were driving to work this morning and you got cut up? Suddenly your blood sugars and everything else fly. Your head is not focused on your business. Your head is focused on the driver in front. Let's say you're ill. It's in your head. That's no good to your business. God forbid there's a plane crash or you die on the way home in your car. It's in your head. It dies with you. The saddest thing I ever see is where someone, a founder of a business or a key person in a business, does unfortunately die unexpectedly at a point when their families should be able to be grieving. They're worrying about the business, and it's like catching treacle because so much of that plan was in that person's head. It is literally falling apart. And by the time they even get a month or so beyond that, that business could have gone from a really strong, high-value business to worthless or bankrupt or being picked up by somebody who's buying cheap businesses because they're distressed. For the sakes of your families as well as your own sanity, get a business plan, a blueprint, a map. And I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to whiz you through this. Now, as a behavioural profile, I can tell you that you can listen faster than you can speak. I'm a fast speaker, but you can listen at about 800 words a minute, so you should be able to cope with it. It will all go in, and certainly just make some notes. I'm going to give you just a few stats. These numbers, okay, 95% of businesses do not have a plan. We saw that replicated in this room here today. Only 5% or thereabouts do have a written plan, a map, a goal, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time. And you know, the ones that do have a goal have a turnover usually 20 times, not 20% higher, 20 times higher. And sometimes we think, how could they just a plumber, I'm a plumber, they're a dentist, I'm a dentist, how are they doing so much more? It's because they've got a roadmap, a blueprint. Can I see a show of hands that if you're driving somewhere that you've never been before, you use a sat-nav or a mapping app? Okay, the rest of you, good luck. You must get lost for that. But still, it was a majority anyway. Why do we do that? We've not been there before. And we want a map to help us work out the best route, maybe the fastest route, maybe the most scenic route, but we can choose the route that we go on. But because we've never been there before, it's obvious that we would use a map or a road plan or an app or something. Why on earth then are we not doing it in our businesses to get to a destination that we've never been to before? And the other thing about a sat-nav is if you put a postcode into a sat-nav, and it can't just be, people say to me often, yeah, Mike, can you help me, can you motivate me? I'll say, no, I can't motivate yourself. Your motivation, and I'll talk about that in a minute, it comes from inside, not outside. When it does come from outside, it's momentary, it's temporary. Or they'll say things like, I just want to be more successful, Mike. I want to do more turnover, Mike. I say, great, let's set a goal then. £1 higher next year is more turnover than this year. I want to lose weight, I want to lose weight. How much do I lose? I don't know, I just want to be healthier. Okay, lose £1 this year, you'll have lost weight. If you're not specific, we'll all know our conscious and our subconscious, but you've probably never heard of your creative subconscious. Okay, that's the thing, that if you decided to buy, say, an Audi or a Porsche, suddenly you see them everywhere. Because that taxi driver, that, as it's referred to often, is saying, there's one, there's one, there's one. If you get in a taxi, what's the first question they're going to want to know the answer to? Where do you want to go? They'll make an assumption that you're going to pay their price, and then they might say, when do you want to get there? Or if you jumped in a cab out here and said, I need to go to King's Cross, it's a short walk, but they might say, what time do you need to be there? And they'll make it clear that you haven't got a chance to hit that train if you didn't allow enough time, or yeah, we'll get there in no time. those three things, where do you want to go? What price are you willing to pay? And that could be blood, sweat and tears, that could be money. And when do you want to be there? We need that. We need that. Our brain literally cannot work effectively without it, and our teams can't work without it if it's in your head. Okay? And the other reason for a sat-nav is, once you put it in, and if it says you're going to be at this meeting by 9, 10 a.m., it gives you a kind of estimated time of arrival, doesn't it? Well, I don't know if you're like me, but I always try to beat that. I can get there quicker, I'm going to speed up a little bit. But if you stopped for a cup of tea, just go have a break, you would know that by stopping and not staying en route at the momentum or the road traffic speed, you're not going to be there on time. Without that measure in business, how can you know whether you're on track to hit your goals or not? And with the sat-nav, immediately, all of the anxiety is taken out. I don't have to picture the whole map, 3 years, 1 year, every team in my business. When I've got a sat-nav, all I need to focus on is take the next left. Drive straight forward for 2 miles and then go straight across the roundabout. And similarly, if you've got a clear planning business, a roadmap, a blueprint, all the anxiety of that mapping, that planning is taken away also. Businesses with a plan get 70% more growth year on year than those without a plan as well. I can never comprehend why people wouldn't have a plan. And if you take nothing else from today, I would take that. I'm going to share with you with the existing members. We had a whole session on this last month, and they're working on their maps, and I'm going to review their maps with them. And that's one of the ways that we help you, whether it's personal goals or business goals, we'll help you create that map, that sat-nav, that blueprint to where you want to go. It could be that you've got a great vehicle in terms of your business, but you're not using it in the way that's going to be most effective. It could be that you're going really fast in the wrong direction. It could be that you've got a good little vehicle, but it's not exactly optimal in the way that it works. And these are silly examples, they're jokes, they're literally comic pictures. But businesses are running like that too. In the absence of a map, a plan, a sat-nav to where you want to be, I'm amazed that any business is successful. And it's not just my opinion. Opinions are easy. You know, it's a bit of a crude opinion, but I like to say that opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one, and most of them are full of shit. You don't need my opinion, that's why I like to back it up with facts. Those numbers I gave you are real, defendable numbers that have been tested again and again and again, and yet still the majority of businesses don't have a written plan, a written map. What we want to help you do is to not follow the crowd. We want to work with you in the Best Wealth Network to bring experts in if moving abroad is something you want to do. To bring experts in if buy-to-let funding is something you want to do. To bring experts in if you want to learn how to be a public speaker or learn better selling skills and so on. And Google the processionary caterpillars. It's quite fun. If ever you get these, you can line them in a circle because they just follow the one in front. And they'll just keep going around in a circle. They're kind of moving, aren't they? They're making progress, getting nowhere. Are you just following a system, a process, laws, ways of doing things that you've always done before that are getting you nowhere fast? Don't get processionary caterpillar. Break out of that, and we've got the tools that can help you do that, the templates that can help you do that. Literally, 3 years on one page. And once we've got a 3-year plan, we then say, okay, to get there in 3 years, where could we get to, or should we get to in 1 year? Let's break that down into 4 quarters. Let's take that first quarter and break that down into 3 months. Let's take that 3 months and break it down into the next 4 weeks. And literally, I work with some companies where they've got a 20 million goal that breaks down to, what am I doing this week? And we're bringing that to Best Wealth Network. All of the members of that are already working on their plans, as I said. And if you join today or if you become a member in the future, that's the kind of support that you'll get, very specific to your business. But whether or not you join, do not leave today without making a commitment to yourself to get a plan. And this was born out of 20 years ago. I helped Stuart sell a business called build a business called Circle K in the UK. It was in the red, and he was a turnaround king. And he would be paid millions of pounds to take the company out of the red and get it making money again, so it would be in a better position to be sold. And it sold to Co-op. And because I'd helped him, because I was a retail consultant at that time and doing shopper tracking and consumer tracking and looking at lifestyle changes and shopping changes and so on, and I helped him and he said, look, I'll mentor you for nothing, Mike, which you've been asking me for a long time. And I thought, great. He was the toughest mentor I ever had. He made me climb mountains, cross oceans, run marathons. And I thought, what's that got to do with the business? But I'll need to share one or two of those points if we've got time. But what he said to me one day, we had a breakfast, and he said, do you know, I've just spent 6 weeks at a blue chip company, a top 100 UK FMCG company, FTSE company, and paid him £5.5 million for him and his team to go in there for 6 weeks. And they interrogated the business, the systems, the reporting, and they come up with research reports, recommendations, analysis. And he said, it's 20 folders of output, Mike. He said, and they love it. They don't really want the recommendations. They just want to say to the city that we've had KPMG in, because the share price will go up a bit, and that was really what they wanted. And because it's 20 folders of output, it will never be read. And because it will never be read, it will never be acted on. And if it's never acted on, it can't possibly be delivered. And he said, Mike, I wish I could just teach them that we'll do the 20 folders of thinking, research, analysis, but we'll just put a one-page map of what they need to do. And I said, that's brilliant, Stuart, I can do that. He says, no, it's crap consultancy, Mike, because you can teach someone this in half a day. He said, and they're only going to pay you £5 or £6 million for it. So even though it was his passion to do that, he wasn't allowed to do that because the consultancy he worked for wanted to get them millions of pounds. And yet he knew every day he was getting all this money in for him and his team, just that was never going to be acted upon. But the beauty was, I took that 20 years ago, he helped me develop it, and bring that, and I only do it with you guys through the Best Wealth Network, to the Best Wealth Network, to say, I have done this with homeless people. And their current state might be that they're addicted to drugs, they're homeless. Their future state might be they want to reconnect with family, they want to get a job, they want to get a home, they want to overcome drug addiction. It works for that. I've done it with Greg Wallace of MasterChef, who I've mentored for 14 years, and we looked at the different ways he could earn money outside of just MasterChef. Whether that's writing books that he does, whether it's his health business that he's got, and so on. So now he has got a very diverse income. And when earlier Claire talked about the fact that during COVID they couldn't do anything because he films just the same, he didn't have a problem because 10,000 people were paying him about £7 a month for his Sure You Fit business that we built because of his passion for health and wellness and so on. But get a plan. It's that important. It makes a difference. I'm going to whiz through these slides because I'm conscious of time for you. But let's go through some of this. It starts with the end in mind. Exactly where do you want to be in 3 years' time? What turnover? How many hours do you want to be working? What products? What services? How many people do you want to be employed? How many offices do you want to have? How many buildings do you want to own? Whatever those goals are, write that down. Okay? It's hard to be driven to achieve a goal without motivation, as I mentioned earlier. That word breaks down into what's your motive for action. Motivation comes from having a really strong motive, a reason why. When the reason why is big enough, the facts don't matter. If I said to you, I want you to walk across this stage, one side to the other, will you do that? You'd say yes. I said, okay, you've walked in the width of a plank. We're now going to put that plank 100 stories up. Will you walk across that same plank? You'd probably say no. If I said, I'm holding your firstborn upside down here on the other side of that plank and I'm going to drop them if you're not across here in 1 minute, would you then cross it? The only thing that's changed is your motive for action, your reason why. So it's not just about getting the goal, it's about understanding why you want that. Are you chasing someone else's goal? Is it really your goal? Why is it going to make a difference? Is it for you? Is it for your children? Is it for your community? And all of those things. Once you start to program these things into your creative subconscious, your life will change. Even me talking about it, and part of the reason I add a lot of behavioural profiling into it, is you will sleep differently tonight. Because a mind, unlike an elastic band, if I stretch the elastic band, when I let it go, it will go back to its original dimensions. But a mind, unlike an elastic band, can never regain its original dimensions. Once you know that this is the difference, if you then don't have a plan in a year's time, it's your fault. It's not the government, it's not the parents, it's not the schooling. It's your responsibility, and you are response-able. Take responsibility, set this goal, set this map, understand why you would want to do that. And I'm going to whiz through this really quickly. For the Best Wealth members, we give them all the templates they need. But even if you wrote it on a piece of paper, what's your current state? Where are you today? Be honest. Don't flower it up. This is for you, mostly, not other people. Where's your turnover? It might just be starting out. And I've done it with, I was entrepreneur in residence at 2 business centres, doing it with people who've got nothing more than an idea through to where they want to be. Businesses that have been stuck at a couple of £1 million for 9 years, but we got them to £5 million in 9 months once we started to do some of these things. It was a scaffolding business. What's your current state? Where are you today? That's where you're starting on a map, if you like. What's your future? I'll ignore that, but that's another story. What's your future state? Where do you want to be? As I said, detailed, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timed. The 95 verses for 5 that I mentioned. Write them down. They're either written or they're rubbish. They're not goals. They say a dream with a date on it becomes a goal. Equally, a goal that's got no date on it and isn't specific, it's just a dream. Let's not kid ourselves. Specific, measurable, and so on. Why? What's your motive for action? And then, what route options do you want to take? Do you want to grow at an amazing pace? It's going to cost you more time, away from family. Maybe all of the money. How much are you willing to risk? The vehicle you use and the cost. You can choose a slower route, a quicker route, a more scenic route, with people, JB, on your own. And I think something that Justin said earlier, that it's the time when it's going to be harder and harder for us to build on our own. More than ever, we need collaboration. And then all of these systems, planning, the limits and beliefs I talked about earlier. Lead gen. A lot of people are getting a great website. I spoke to someone just last week, and he said he was spending £3,000 a month on SEO. I mean, that's a bullshit buzzword, isn't it? I mean, everyone will go, oh, I've got to spend money on SEO. Why? What are they going to do when they get to your website? I mean, really, what, are you selling them well? Or are we spending money just to buy them to a website that's ineffective anyway? But then he was spending £3,000 a month on Facebook ads. So I say, well, if you've got Facebook ads that's taken them to a landing page, why do you even need SEO? Because that's irrelevant if you've got a decent click funnel or sales funnel. And there's probably people in the room, show of hands, who knows what a click funnel is? Who's got a click funnel? Who uses a click funnel? How you can sell in this day and age without that? That's like putting up a lovely website, waiting for someone to click, someone to search me, someone to look. Don't kid yourself. The 11th commandment is what my mentor used to call it. Thou shalt not kid thyself, Mike. If that's not the way people buy anymore, we need to look at the way people buy. We need to change. And again, part of the Best Wealth Network is understanding what do we need to do to change. What has changed for our customers, and we need to adapt and evolve to better deliver against, and so on. It's your business. It's always going to be your business. It's your goals. It's your investments. You don't have to be on your own when you're part of a network that's bringing together all the people that can help you, whether it's with a system, a strategy, or just the people who can help you along the way. And then, if we've got a map, like I said, if you were following a sat nav and it said take the next left and you turned right, that would be effing stupid. And yet without that map, people are turning right without realising that's the wrong way every single day. Or they know what they need to do in their business and they've got this golden goose that lays golden eggs when they feed it and look after it, but oh, Bitcoin's great. And then burn down the pub, oh, property, we'll get the property. The first thing you need to do is secure the business you've got. And Alfie said that earlier when he was working with Paul. You can kind of do some things in parallel, but at least get some money from this first, knock this down first. Optimise the exit from that if that's what you want to do. Then we can build those things into a map. The fox that chases 2 rabbits starts. Focus, 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 and discipline to follow. You're going to have some challenges along the way, and that's why, even though I was trying to build a business here, America, Australia, New Zealand, 18 European countries, Stuart would say to me, Mike, go and climb the mountain. What? He said, I want you to climb a mountain. You can choose which mountain. And I've done many, many mountains. And just last month, I did one on the Georgia-Russian border. I'm 60 next month. I've got osteoarthritis. I have to have an injection just to kill the pain to do that mountain. But it weren't going to stop me. I said earlier, winners make adjustments. Losers make excuses. When you set a goal, do what it takes. There will always be challenges. Because you know what? If they don't kill you, they will make you stronger. Cliche, I know. But cliches are cliches because they're said a lot, because they're like an irrefutable law. Expect challenges. We can help you with that. And don't ignore the impact of small improvements every day. I love the story of the guy who invented chess. And the king of the land said, I want someone to invent a game that's challenging, that's competitive, that's fun. And different people came, and this guy finally came with a chessboard. And the king said, name your price. It's amazing, it's competitive, it's like wargaming. I enjoy it. It's in name your price. And the guy said, can you let me think? And a few days later, the king said to his treasurer, have we paid him this price yet? And he said, no, my lord, we can't. He wants too big a price. He said, well, what does he want? He said he wants 1 grain of sand on the first square of the chessboard, 1 grain of corn, sorry. And then he wants to double that on each of the 64 squares. So stupid, let's do that. Why does he want such a small price? He says 1 doubled 64 times becomes 18 quintillion. 18 with 18 zeros. If we could teach you and you could focus, then you could just double your business once a year even, or once a month. The compound growth is unbelievable. Small goals can make the difference. And the British cycling team is a good thing to look up at how he said, we can't improve any one thing by 100% or 1,000%, but we can improve 1,000 things by 1%. So micro goals make a big difference. Time is the great lever, okay? Elon Musk has the same number of hours as a homeless person. It's how they use it that makes the difference. How are you using time? Who's stealing your time? How do you value your time? I look at my time as being worth at least £15 a minute, £1,000 an hour. Any less than that is a waste of my time. So someone might drop me a note and say, Mike, can we just catch up for a coffee? I say, look, I'd love to have coffee with people, but why? What's the agenda? Yeah, but I'd like to get your thoughts on Silicon. If you don't value your time, no one else will. Focus and discipline I talked about earlier. I'm going to end with this. I was due to speak 7 years ago now. My daughter was only 7 years old at the time. And I was due to go to Portugal. It was the year that the little girl Maddie disappeared. And I was going to speak to 2,600 estate agents. And Portugal, 50% of their tourism is from Britain. It was devastated after the Maddie thing. So we were going to speak to all these estate agents. And I don't know much about estate agency. I was trying to understand consumer change and shopper behaviour and motivations for booking holidays. And I said to my wife, I said, George, this woman that we've been bankrupt and everything 30, 40 years ago, and she stayed with me even though we were homeless, as I mentioned earlier. That woman is my life. We've been together 37 years and I will die with her because we all need someone in our corner. But, and Aaron was talking about strong people earlier, you know, she is so bloody strong, it drives me crazy still. But I said to her, Jules, tomorrow I'm going to work from home, I need to write this presentation, I fly tomorrow night and speak on the following day, and I haven't even got the presentation written yet. She said, yeah, sure. Anyway, next morning, Rosie said she was ill, and Julia said, Mike, Rosie's ill, I need to take Amelia to school, you're going to have to look after Rosie. I said, Jules, I told you I'm speaking to 2,500 estate agents and I need to focus on this. I haven't written it yet. And she said, just deal with it, Mike, I'm very good, as we do. And you need someone strong like that. But anyway, Rosie was upstairs, she was ill, I could write this presentation, I'm flicking through travel agent magazines, trying to get some inspiration. And Rosie came down and said, Dad, will you play with me? I said, Rosie, I thought you was ill. She huffed a bit better, as kids do. And I'm not proud of it, but I ripped a page like this out, and I tore it into pieces and gave me some sellotape, and I said, Rosie, if you could just stick this together like a jigsaw puzzle, then I'll come and play with you. I had to give me an hour, I could focus. Anyway, she came back literally 10 minutes later. And she made so much. She is she's now literally a brain scientist. She's got a new we call it brain physics. So you can't even get the word, but you can still read it well. Anyway, she got Cambridge, she's a degree in psychology, she's a neuroscientist. But 7 years old, she came back and it was stuck together. I said, Rosie, that's amazing. How did you do that? And she said, it was easy, Dad. There were people on the back, and when I stuck the people back together, the world was all right. And you know, in one moment, she gave me my open and my close to that presentation. But also, when you can get yourself right, when you can get the right people working with you, stuck together strongly, your world will be all right. Thanks very much for your time.